Blumfeld were a German band from Hamburg. They were formed in 1990, and in the early days, they were noise rock. They turned into indie pop and lasted until 2007. And during their tenure, they squeezed out 6 albums. Hi, my name's Dan, and this is a review of the album Old Nobody by Blumfeld, which was released in the year 1999 and was their third album. It's my first encounter with them. And just throwing in my little bit of German that I have makes me think that Blumfeld means meadow. And that's because I think bloom means flower and felt, I'm fairly sure, means field, so flower field. Um, and I, what else can I say? I've got lots more to say, of course. This is the only album of theirs that I know of that has an English title for the album. All the other 5, I think, have German names, and it's German pop, and it's sung in German almost entirely. There's occasional snatches of English in it, but that might just be borrowed terms, like we have occasional snatches of French in our English language. Um, but it's been labelled as indie pop, I guess, maybe. But that then led me to think, well, what does indie pop mean? And is it just pop that's been released on an indie label, or is it something different? I don't know. If you know, please let me know by leaving me a comment. So I'll talk about the first track first. Not because it's first, but because it's unusual. So it has no music. It is a spoken poem in German. It's nearly 6 minutes of German poetry. It seems to be quite nicely delivered. I did go and look up the words for it, or a translation into English of the words, and uh, to be honest, can't remember what it was about from looking it up. The rest of the album is this kind of pop is the word that came to mind for me. Kind of sophisti-pop, which is a term that was used for, I think, for particularly British bands in the 80s who were doing pop that had a bit of a jazz leaning. So people like the Style Council and Prefab Sprout. And it has a kind of similar feel to that. So it's pop in that it's kind of light, it's instantly accessible, but it's also got a little bit of a softness to it. Which isn't necessarily there in lots of pop stuff. I want to bring out the vocals actually here because he's got a really nice, sweet voice. I find it quite an attractive voice, I would say. It reminds me a little bit of Marty Pello from Wet, 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 but a bit softer than that, but in tone quite similar. It's the sort of voice that's naturally clear. And I found myself, I don't know why I was thinking about this, I couldn't imagine him singing off key or, being out of tune. It's just, how does that happen? I mean, presumably he can, but there was absolutely nothing that was a hint of anything being off the note. And it was just kind of, on, not, clear, not racy, kind of not strident. It's the opposite of that, whatever that is, soft. Yeah. Um, and I think overall, that was all I felt that there was to it, or to my response to it. So I don't understand the lyrics because they're in sung German. I get the occasional word, but I don't understand enough to be able to string together the meanings. Apparently, it's generally introspective and contemplative and somewhat philosophical. It seems to me to be very radio friendly. Apparently, it was a turning point for them from more abrasive music and lyrics. But not knowing the previous stuff, I can't do anything other than say that that's a comparison that other people have made. I didn't mind it there in the background. There's little I felt in there to bring it nearer to the foreground to me. I'm also going to go back to this spoken word track, which is that. So I don't know if anybody else is like me. Um, I think that well, certainly for me, my listening relationship with spoken word is different to my listening relationship with music. And I think I'm more likely to listen to music more often and repeated times than significant than spoken word stuff. I feel like with spoken word, I've heard it, and I don't need to hear it again for another, yeah, several years or so. So repeatability of listening, I think, can be reduced by having significant spoken word elements on an album. And this this thought really was came to me when I got an album, a box set actually by from the band Madness, which had a whole lot of outtakes and alternative versions and stuff, interspersed with bits of chat from the band and from other people involved with it, in interviews and stuff. And I found that even though I enjoyed the songs, I didn't want to go back to the album as often I might just a pure music album. Um, there may be an exception to that in this album, which is if I don't understand what's being said, that might change my relationship to it. So overall, my reaction is 6, 7. It's somewhere in that kind of ballpark. It's not hugely pleasant, but just not hugely impactful. That's what I think. So, and I'm just a guy whose intentions are good. Um, but I'd love to hear from anybody else who has an opinion on this album, or even if you haven't got an opinion, share that. I have no feelings at all about this album. Uh, Please do this by leaving a comment. It's I like to open up the dialogue with people. I'm very interactive in the comment sections. But that's it from me for now.